So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Hayley Dixon, who's director at Yorkshire Contemporary. So, firstly, Hayley, thank you for spending some time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Yorkshire Contemporary, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
That's great. Lovely to be here. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
My name's Hayley Dixon. I am the director of Yorkshire Contemporary. I'm quite new in post here. I was delighted to join the organisation 6 months ago in taking forward this next chapter. So we are a almost 20-year-old organisation that has been based in Leeds throughout that time. And we exist to support contemporary artists and art practice in Leeds and across West Yorkshire. We're working to create the conditions so artists can thrive in this region while presenting artworks that enable playfulness and offer people inspiring creative experiences, bringing new and vital perspectives to the world through the voices of artists.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Where would people sort of? I'm conscious you historically had a premises, but now you're without premises. But so where will people find you? If are there events going on that people can come along and see what's going on there?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as you mentioned, we started life. We were first known as Project Space Leeds, and we had a small project studio on the in Leeds on Whitehall, where
Yep.
we supported over 300 artists across 5 years.
Wow.
We then took a residency at the old Tetley Brewery on the south bank of Leeds,
Yep.
where we remained for 10 years there and developed a really innovative program where we were working with communities to support children and young people to be creative, presenting exhibition programs that spanned local artists, national artists, and international collaborations. And
Wow.
we also had a real in-depth program that was looking at emerging artist support, so creating mentoring opportunities, residencies, and we really kind of raised the profile of those artists and broken new ground. One of our significant projects at the Tetley was a solo exhibition by Ty Sharney, which then went on to win the Turner Prize of that
Wow.
year, which was 2019. And it was due to that work now, since leaving the Tetley, we've been working nomadically across the region. But one of our current projects is we've just worked with Bradford 2025 in their City of Culture year
Yep.
to co-curate the Turner Prize for them. So we've been working with the four nominated artists, Rini Matic, Naina Kalu, Mohammed Sami, and Zaidi Shah. And that exhibition's just opened at Cartwright Hall in Bradford, and you can go
Yeah.
and see it until the 22nd of February.
Perfect. What a great, thank you. That's a great opportunity and a great example of the benefits of being nomadic. So we're operating over in Bradford and we could go, yeah, wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Hayley, I'm keen, I appreciate you're fairly new in post here, but I'm keen to know a little bit about your background and how you came to join Yorkshire Contemporary.
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm from Leeds. I grew up in Leeds and then started my artistic career. I went to university in London, so life happens. You meet people, you get a few jobs, and
Yep.
start working. So it's been the best part of 20 years later till since I found myself back in my home city. But really excited to be here because when I was growing up here, there was no contemporary art space in the
Yep.
city. It was something I came to be involved in contemporary art practice in quite a just a kind of happenstance way, in that my sister's friend went to Leeds College of Arts. My sister knew I quite liked art, and so took me along to this exhibition, and I just fell in love with it and just
Brilliant.
was just kind of overawed by this place of creativity and investigation and curiosity, and I just felt that I wanted to be part of that.
Yep.
And that kind of led me on a path to wanting to go to art school, which I did. I did my degree. And then it was actually whilst I was there, I developed more so an interest in working with artists to help them achieve their vision and support their practice. So that led me on to working in quite a few places, but I guess a few significant roles would have been with Frieze Art Fair I worked with for quite a long time. I also work with Focal Point Gallery in Southend-on-Sea, developing programs with them. And then most recently, I've been at an organisation called Studio Voltaire in South London, who have an incredible program of artist commissions, studio practices, and then also civic and learning programs throughout communities in South London. And then when this job, I was very happy there, but when this job came up to kind of take forward the next chapter of the Yorkshire Contemporary, I just really felt I'm very much of the mindset of if you want to see something in the world, you need to kind of put the effort in to do something about it.
Yep.
So when the opportunity came up to create a substantial and long-lasting contemporary art offer in for Leeds and West Yorkshire, that was just something I felt like I wanted to help to
Brilliant.
achieve. And that's what really attracted me back to the role. And picking up on this, what's been an almost 20-year legacy here, trying to recognize, celebrate, and champion that, but then take the
Yeah.
organization forward into its next steps.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So I'm guessing I mean, from what you said, you've always been creative and arty, right from a young age.
It's always been an interest, yeah, definitely. I've come to realize actually I think I'm just a huge fan of artists. Like
Brilliant.
that's
Okay. Yeah.
that's kind of the position I come from. I'm a fan of what artists do.
Wonderful.
And in that sense of like in that way of fandom when if you're have an obsession with something, whether it's football or an actor or a certain franchise or whatever that might be, the way that you might just kind of want to see as much as possible, collect as
Yep.
many things as possible, be as close to it as possible without actually doing it yourself.
Yep.
That's kind of how I feel about artists, I think. And
Brilliant.
I want to just, whatever the kind of skills and talents that I have, I want to be able to lend to be able to champion and support their work.
Wonderful. Amazing. And and looking back over your career and what are some of the biggest challenges you've had to face personally and overcome?
I mean, working in the organizations I've worked for most recently have all been charities or public sector.
Yes.
And it is, but that's very in the way that, we need to operate them. It's very much thinking of them like a business. And I think
Yes.
it's the outcomes of the work we do are so wonderful, and the outcomes for the artists, the outcomes for the communities we reach, and particularly seeing children and young people involved in that work and being inspired by it is great. But
Yes.
then kind of keeping that's the kind of swan above the surface, but the kind of kicking legs underneath are the fundraising,
Yeah.
the maintaining any buildings that you might be responsible for, looking after all these things, pulling all the puzzle pieces together of what a business needs to run, keeping, making sure the staff are supported, making sure you're recruiting people properly, and making sure you've
Yes.
got the right team, all of those things coming together. And there have been it's a really challenging moment for arts funding and, charities in
Yes.
general, but particularly arts funding. And
Yes.
and that means that, fundraising, getting together the opportunities and what we need to be able to run these organizations is becoming ever tougher. So that's, yeah, definitely one of the biggest challenges of the job.
Yes, yeah, it's something we were talking earlier before we started, but from my perspective, I have worked with a number of charities as well, and pretty much the same challenges apply to a charity to a business. That the only main difference from my perspective is the profit, if you like, that can be generated is fed back into the business to just do into the charity to do more good stuff. Whereas on a business, it's some of it's allocated to the shareholders or owners of the business. And other than that, we've got teams and organisations, we've got customers, we've got suppliers, we've got a whole bunch of stuff that we need to sort out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And so what would you say the biggest things you've learned about growth in general of organisations?
I would say in terms of I think it's about managing expectations often with a team would be one
Yes.
of the things I would think about with growth. I think it's all well and good having a kind of master vision for something, but it's how
Yep.
you bring people along with you on that journey and encourage people to, whether that's stepping into a slightly bigger role or whether that's in how there's a need to involve more people because you are expanding and growing. So it's how you can maintain those puzzle pieces to fit together, I think is
Yes.
really important because that's the heart of any organization. It's the team that are running it and making sure that that's everybody's on board with that idea. That's definitely an important aspect.
Yes, it's interesting. I've heard somebody sort of define leadership. I mean, it's only probably only a play on words, but leadership is actually followship, i.e., the ability
Mm,
to get people to follow and where we're going, rather than necessarily any. It's very much an encouragement exercise, and people have got to want to engage with the leader, and that's the leader's skill is to get people to engage and want to go where we want to go to.
yeah, and I'd say fellowship rather than followership as well. Like in the,
Love it.
kind of having everybody involved in that
Yep,
journey of
brilliant.
doing it together, I think, yeah, is really important. Because yeah, one of the, I think good ideas can come from everywhere, and it's about how there are different levels of management that need to be there for different reasons, but
Definitely.
leadership and ideas can come from everywhere.
Yeah, I think I completely agree, and I think one of the things I've picked up over time is that great leaders ask, they don't tell. It's
Mm,
very much about what do we think. Ultimately, we're probably there to make the decision, but it's based on all the knowledge and expertise of the people in our teams
yeah,
that we are leading. Brilliant. And
absolutely.
from a coaching perspective, I think you're aware we're a business coaching organisation. I'm just keen to know who the best coaches are that you've had, whether that's business, sport, life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
Oh, I've worked with some different coaching organizations before. There's a company called People Make It Work that are really great.
Brilliant.
That I've done some courses with, particularly someone called Caroline Collier has done some really amazing. I've done some sessions with which were really incredibly valuable
Brilliant.
and very inspiring. Yeah.
And whether it's from coaching or Carolina, or do you have any favourite quotes or sayings about leadership, about organisational growth, about success, or just life in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the ones I just mentioned actually, the kind of, best idea wins. I think I say that to my team a lot, just
Brilliant.
the idea that nothing, that giving people the confidence to put their ideas forward, no matter where they are within the organization, I think is important. Also, I think something that I try and remember as well is not to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I think I'm aware
Brilliant.
I can be quite a perfectionist, and I think sometimes I possibly hold myself back by wanting to do something absolutely perfectly, and sometimes you just need to kind of make a start, get going with
Yes.
something, be on the right track, and then iterate and learn as you go through it. So that's something I try and hold on to a little bit.
Yes, it's
Mm.
eight. I think the old sort of Pareto 80-20 rule is quite good, i.e., 80% of the value is delivered with 20% of the effort. And therefore the last 20% of value is delivered with 80% of the effort. And it's about,
Mhm.
and the challenge being if we're not ready to do that, we can fail to initiate and it can hold us back. So brilliant. And similarly, any favourite books or podcasts that you can recommend about any life or business or organisation or leadership in general?
Yeah, there's one that actually Caroline recommended to me, which was Radical Candor by Kim Scott,
Yes.
which is yeah possibly one that you know
Great
about.
book. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something I've been reading at the moment, which just kind of really provides that link between where to be, have strong relationships with employees, but how you can make it personal, how you can make sure your influence and impact matters, and that you're being honest with people, but also
Yes.
doing it with care.
Yes.
So that's been really. There's also on back on my kind of fandom that I've just recently enjoyed a book called I Heart Politics by Phoenix Andrews, which I've found really inspiring in terms of how people gather and follow around different aspects. And a podcast I'm really enjoying, which is slightly less on the leadership side, although I've found it kind of interesting and inspiring for this reason. The actress Amy Poehler has just started a new podcast called Good Hang, which is interviews with other actors and
Right.
many comedians and but people who've been kind of incredibly successful in their lives
Yes.
and how that's been able to be pulled together, but also just the conversations around playfulness and
Yep.
how you can create a space for testing and playing, and how then that can then develop into something wonderful. And again, it's
Yeah.
like bringing people along with you on the journey, um, to be able to do that. So yeah, that's a podcast I've been really enjoying at the moment.
Brilliant, thank you. That's an interesting one. I've not heard that one. I'll search that one up and have a watch or a
Mhm.
listen. Um, and speaking of learnings, then Hayley, what would you say you've learned about yourself throughout your journey so far?
Oh, yes, lots. I think I think for me it's about being probably about needing the need to be balanced and
Yep.
the need to find kind of balance and recognizing that I can't, that it's not on me, and also that I can't do everything myself, and needing to
Yes.
kind of reach out and get support, and how you can how the best way to build the frameworks to be able to do
Yep.
that. Like that's something I've learned that I probably need to, and I don't, that's again constant work in progress.
Yeah.
It's not something that I particularly have all together at the moment, but definitely something I think about a lot.
Yes. I think it's the I read some time ago the idea that many people feel that their job is to become indispensable. But the challenge with that is we become locked in that role. So
Yeah.
actually, it's counterintuitive. Our job is to become dispensable so that we can delegate our current role to the next person and then move to the next level.
Yeah, and thinking about I try and think about it as the organization as well. Like it's not about me and my role, it's about how
Yes.
the organization functions, and that organization, has a legacy and needs a succession plan, and both of
Yeah.
those things happen without me. So that's something that needs to be, yeah, thought of as we move through.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a phrase in a phrase in Action Coach which sort of paraphrase is the most successful organisations are the ones that are independent of its leaders. I needs
Mhm.
leaders, but it's when the leader is embedded, there's an issue
Mhm.
because the leader can become the bottleneck of success and growth
Yeah.
if they're doing too much. And in fact, I went to an event last year, year before maybe, and they had a lady called Jennifer Byrne speaking, who's an ex CTO at Microsoft, so C-suite executive at Microsoft, and she was saying in the US now, when they recruit C-suite executives, they actively test them on their ability not to do things.
Okay, right.
Which
Interesting.
which like I don't know about you, but it sounds totally like a bit nuts, really. But and I looked around the room when you were saying it. There's so many sort of leaders in there going, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what are you talking about? That's nuts." But
I just got out the door, yeah.
yeah, but it was for me. What I picked up with that, our job is to help, is to support other people to get things done, but
Yeah.
not to be guilty of diving in and trying to do it ourselves,
Yeah.
which is so common in many leaders for all the
Mhm.
all the good reasons of you wanting to help and support. But while we're getting stuck in, we potentially don't have the eyes on the future and the big picture. Um, Speaking of which, what does the future look like for you guys at Yorkshire Contemporary, Hayley? And what do you think some of the challenges you might face, if any?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it is, although it's been very kind of mean that we're quite fleet-footed at the moment by working
Yep.
nomadically and working in partnership. It does mean that in terms of how we develop our support for artists, it does look a little bit different, because we can't one of the needs for artists, particularly in this area, is to have space to show work, and that's unfortunately
Yes.
not something we can directly offer them at the moment.
Yep.
So what we are trying to do is think around that problem, think around, okay, well, what resources do we have? What can we offer to people? And then what partnerships can we create? Which yeah, is in on the one hand very exciting, because we're always working with new people, we're collaborating, we're
Yep.
trying to form goals together, or meet our kind of shared goals with other organizations, using our resources to do that together. But it does take that takes time, it takes longer, it takes those partnerships take a while to develop and
Yes.
come about. So it's just something that needs, we need to kind of have the dedication to be able, I mean, we do have the dedication to do that, but it's having the kind of time and resources to be able to make them meaningful. Yeah, that can be difficult. But we will be we are hoping to work towards having a space again. So that's
Great.
definitely an ambition of ours to be able to because yeah, this area needs a centre for contemporary art, and that's what we're looking to deliver.
Brilliant. So just if by coincidence somebody might be watching that may
Mhm.
have some space, what sort of space would you be looking for?
Wow, yeah, that would be amazing. If anybody, if somebody watching was interested in the mission to create a new contemporary art space for Leeds and West Yorkshire, then yes, we're looking for a building. We're looking for somewhere that can house a contemporary art gallery that maybe has some kind of project space, testing ground where we can run events. And depending on the space available, it might be that we are able to bring in artist studio spaces, residency spaces, or even a kind of cafe bar offer to make this a real destination for people coming
Brilliant.
to experience the joy of contemporary art.
Love it. Well, let's hope somebody might watch this at some point and get in touch. Um, I, and final question, Hayley, what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do
Ooh.
that?
Wow, 18-year-old me. So I would have been finishing my A levels and just about to start my journey at art college.
Brilliant.
So I think at that point it would have been about embracing opportunities and new ideas and partnerships. And I think, that's really what contemporary art's done for me. It's about just kind of widening and opening my horizons to
Yeah.
different possibilities and different ways that you can attack a problem or live a life or
Yes.
get involved in something. So yes, that would probably be, and it probably took me a few years to kind of really learn that lesson. So if I was advising 18-year-old me, I'd be saying, don't worry about the things you've been told you have to do. Think
Yeah.
about, what's exciting, what do you want to get involved with, what opportunities do you want to take, and trust your instincts on that.
I think that's great advice for anybody, and I think yeah, it's like follow your purpose. Is it what I find, however you define success, but success mainly often comes from following your purpose. Then it sort of works its way out, doesn't it? Follow what your interest is, what your purpose is, and sort of our careers or our lives work their way out from there, rather than maybe work on whatever other somebody else's definition for success. Let's work on our own and just follow our instincts in our hearts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, Haley, it's been fascinating talking to you, and obviously congratulations 6 months in your current role, and we wish you all the best for the future. And for anyone that's watching that would like to get in touch with you or Yorkshire Contemporary, what would be the best way of doing that?
Yes, so our website is yorkshirecontemporary.org. You can find my email addresses on there to get in touch with me. You can also follow us on LinkedIn or on Instagram. We're Yorkshire Contemporary on both. And I've got profiles on there as well. So yes, have a look
Brilliant.
for me. But yeah, that's great.
Brilliant. Well, again, thank you so much for spending some time. It'd be great to swing by another 6, 12 months and just see what the progression is, and hopefully you will find some premises at some point in the future.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, lovely to
Great.
talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.